This is the Almost Timely newsletter for the week of June 4th, 2023. Content authenticity statement. 100% of this newsletter is generated by me, the human. When there is machine-generated content, I will prominently disclose it. What's on my mind this week? Content marketing is in trouble. I saw a glimpse of what the future of content looks like, and it looks great for us as consumers and as storytellers. As marketers, we're in a whole lot of trouble. Here's why. We've been talking about generative AI for quite some time now, ever since Stable Diffusion and DALL-E back in early 2022, and then ChatGPT in late 2022. These tools fundamentally changed how we program computers because they take plain language, prompts we write, and convert them into instructions in ways that allow even the most non-technical person to gain substantial benefit from them. I said a while ago that literally every piece of software that is at all complex to use will have some kind of natural language prompt system built into it within months. Earlier pioneers like HubSpot's ChatSpot, for example, showed appetite from customers for interacting with complicated software in easy ways with prompts. Just recently, Microsoft announced that the Windows operating system itself would have a natural language prompt capability system-wide. So even mundane stuff like move all my PowerPoint files older than a year that haven't opened in a year into a subdirectory called 2022 PowerPoints. That'll be easy. As an aside, here's an easy way to tell if a piece of software you currently use will have generative AI soon. If it has an API, or if it has an internal programming language, it will probably have generative AI sooner rather than later because the groundwork for code-driven interactions is already there, right? Microsoft Windows and Microsoft Office, they have their own programming language called VBScript, Visual Basic Script. Adobe has scripting tools. Blender 3D has scripting tools. I'm trying to think, there's so many different tools that have built-in programming languages. Google Chrome has one. HubSpot's got an API. All your favorite, SaaS software, they've all got APIs. That means that it's trivial for a company to just add a generative AI interface that essentially writes the script behind the scenes to the programming interfaces that are already there. The ease of use that generative AI provides is now showing up in creative tools. A short while ago, Adobe released a beta of Photoshop that allows for what's called generative fills. You select something in your image, and then you type in the prompt for what you want the rest of the image to be. I did this last week with a friend of mine. She sent me some wedding photos, and I moved to the wedding party from whatever venue it was in to Mars. It was like 3 clicks and a little bit of typing, and it looked good. It looked really good. Software like, for example, DALL-E and Stable Diffusion, they've had this capability in painting and stuff for a while, but it's not mainstream. And let's be honest, it was kind of a pain to use. Photoshop, they made it easy now. They made it mainstream. But the big one, the big eye-opener for me was the announcement of Unity AI. For those who are unfamiliar, Unity is a very, very complicated and capable programming environment used mainly by game studios to make video games. Right? Some of the biggest and best video game titles that you know of, that you've heard of, are built in Unity, like Pokemon Go, for example. These are games you've played, games you've heard of. In the most recent release of Unity, the 5.2 release, the company showcased AI-based generation of landscapes and other shortcuts that will speed up game development. If you want to look at just how crazy good this stuff is, go search for Unity 5.2 on YouTube and just enjoy it. It's mind-blowing. And then, just this morning, we stumbled upon Unity AI. What is it? You guessed it. Prompt-based generation of video game content. Now, instead of spending hours or days or weeks of constructing scenes in the editor with painstaking detail, clicking the mouse and changing the numbers for every little widget in the scene, you can use generative AI, right? Instead of having to do by hand scenes and characters and sequences, you write prompts that will have the software generate those things for you. And this is going to help developers in particular, game developers, dramatically accelerate their work, get to that first draft much faster, and spend time refining the first draft of what the machine does. And As with systems like ChatGPT, those first drafts, they're not going to be perfect. They're not going to even be close to perfect. They're not going to be ready to ship as is. But what a first step, because today, that first draft for a top-tier game title, that can take months, if not years, to create. Now, that all sounds cool, right? You're probably wondering, what does this have to do with content marketing? Here's why. The Unity content development system, the Unity environment, isn't just for video games. Because of the complexity of its engine, you can make videos with it, scripted video. Like, if you ever played any of the current games built on Unity, you've seen video cutscenes filmed entirely within the gameplay engine. They look great, highly realistic virtual environments, characters acting out a script. So those cutscenes, that's film, right? So in other words, with engines like Unity, you can shoot cinematic video without leaving your desk, right? Now, that in and of itself is not new, but up until now, it's been impractical because of the huge number of steps you need to take just to assemble a single scene. With generative AI and prompt-based interactions, that's going to be much, much faster, which brings filmmaking on a shoestring budget to a whole new level. Suppose you're shooting a film and you want to shoot some scenes or some B-roll in other locations. With tools like this, you might green screen in your talent into environments generated by Unity, or just might not use any human talent at all, but it's super accessible. You will be able to make cinematic quality video from your desk with nothing else but a game engine and generative AI. Think about what this means for content creators. High-quality video production will be possible with prompt-based instruction in the same way that music production, image production, and text production are possible today with tools like ChatGPT. Look at fan and independent content creator sites like Archive of Our Own, which is archiveofourown.org. There are millions of stories that have been created by independent content creators, independent writers on sites like those. Written fiction that earns more traffic and more audience than most marketing content. Now, imagine how straightforward it will be. Not easy, but straightforward. To convert the best of those fan fiction pieces into videos, into series, into films. Right? Think about any TV series that you've enjoyed that came to an end or unceremoniously got canceled. With generative AI tools like these, fans, whether they have permission to do so or not, because most fan fiction is completely unauthorized, but fans will be able to engineer their own rich content in those worlds, in those universes, in the same way that they write fan fiction today. Do you see the problem for marketing? Yes, marketing will benefit from these tools as well, but there's so much untapped originality, so much outstanding writing out there online, so many good ideas that would never get funding for a feature film or streaming video series that could be turned into those forms of content with generative tools. And that means marketing content, which is already not the most exciting content in the world, is going to fall further behind on people's must-consume list, right? There's an ocean of content about to be created that will easily outcompete marketing content because it's simply better content. It's a better way for a person to spend their time, right? You read your favorite fan fiction authors' stuff, and now you like, oh, and now this is a film. Like, I'll watch that film, and for the next 2 hours, you're watching a generated film made from your favorite fan fiction. And you're not watching marketing content, right? Marketing. We, marketers, we are headed to the bottom of everyone's to-do list for the most part, right? We're just not that exciting. So, what should we as marketers do? Well, the solution is simple and extremely difficult. We have to make content worth consuming. It sounds so trite, so cliche, so 2005. Make better content, right? But it's 100% true. Our competition is no longer just the big studios like Netflix and Disney+, but everyone and anyone who can and will make incredibly rich content with the next generation of AI-based generative content tools. Suppose making content, even on a shoestring budget, that these new productions have, is just not in the cards for us. Right? Maybe that's just not what your brand does. Maybe you can't get approval from the higher-ups. Well, what then? Well, there are a variety of ways we can participate as marketers and create mind share in these new worlds, these new environments, new content authoring mechanisms. In systems like Unreal, you need assets, right? These are content pieces that the engine can build with, like tables and chairs, 3D models of soda cans and soda machines, etc. If you're a brand that makes any kind of physical object, you absolutely should be engineering and freely giving away branded virtual objects. Like a soda manufacturer like Coca-Cola should be handing out free virtual soda can models and vending machine models like candy, with licenses for developers and filmmakers to use them freely. I put in like the non-disparagement stuff. Like, you can use this, but you can't use it to say anything bad about us, right? But you give that away to developers and content creators, because what's going to happen? Free product placement, right? If a designer's like, well, I need a soda machine. Oh, look, here's one from Coca-Cola that I'm authorized to use. And then there's a bunch of rando ones that are not free. What are you going to choose as a game designer? What are you going to choose as a content creator? You're going to plop that Coca-Cola machine right in your video. And guess what? Now Coca-Cola is in that production. And they didn't have to pay to be there. Now, suppose you're not able to create your own content. You're not able to create assets. What's left? Maybe you can't do that. Now what? The reality is that even though independent studios and filmmakers and game makers will all benefit greatly from generative AI for making content, it will still take time and money. It'll just take less of it, right? Your company could be the sponsor, the patron of productions that align with your values and your marketing strategy, right? A film that would have cost $10 million to make might only cost $10,000 to make with these new tools, but that's still $10,000 people probably don't have, right? Your company might not be willing to sponsor the creation of a $10 million film, but would you sponsor a $10,000 film? That's a lot more palatable, right? That will fit in more marketing budgets. And if it's a hit, if it takes off, then you get to ride that rocket ship to the top of pop culture for your 15 minutes of fame from generated AI content, right? Still human run, but made with these new tools. Your marketing in the new world of outstanding independent content might evolve to look more like marketing from a century ago, when companies sponsored content left and right in an attempt to gain mindshare in new media, right? Back then, like radio and television. Think about Michelin-starred restaurants, right? Think about that for a second. Where did that come from? It came from the Michelin Guide, which was what? A guide published by the Michelin Tire Company to promote the sale of tires, but in the process created this whole ecosystem around their brand that has nothing to do with tires, but everything to do with driving around and visiting new places. And now, even today, 100 years later, people still talk about you're a Michelin-starred chef, right? A tire company is certifying you as a chef, as a high-quality chef, but it evolved because these companies sponsored this stuff, created this stuff. Look around for content opportunities and build connections with creator communities sooner rather than later, because this tidal wave of generated AI content, generated AI tools, this tidal wave is almost ashore. Finally, I want to reiterate something we've been saying for years now. AI is not going to take your job. A person skilled with AI will take your job. A person skilled with AI will take the job of a person who is not skilled with AI, because the person who is skilled with AI will be able to do so much more, so much faster, so much better, and probably so much cheaper than the person who is not. If you want to remain highly employable, highly sought after, you need to be using these tools now, today, while they're still fresh and the disruption has upset the apple cart. This is your window. This is your opportunity to leapfrog less agile competitors, be they other job seekers or other companies. As we saw in the early 2000s with social media, the window doesn't stay open for long, and once it closes, the new winners are very difficult to dislodge. You could be one of those winners if you act now, if you skill up now. And here's the thing, there isn't a course or a book or a lecture to take, because they don't exist yet, not credible ones. There is only knowing what tools are coming in your industry and getting proficient with them now, building your community now, your personal think tank, so that your ears to the ground and you've got early skills in your field, right? You can be that winner, but you've got to stop watching from the sidelines and jump in. All right, What else has happened in the news this week in case you missed it? It's less than 30 days now until Google Analytics 4 is the only version of Google Analytics that will work. If you have not done the migration, do it now, right? Do it now. And if you don't know how, if you're not sure, hit reply. Right? That's literally what my company has been doing. Granted, we're getting close to being totally booked. So you need to say hi sooner rather than later, but get it done. And we're going to talk more about this in the coming weeks and months. But if you haven't done it yet, you may not know your data doesn't go with you into the new version. So you'll have data from the day you turn it on. So when you start doing things like quarter-end reporting or year-end reporting, you're going to have to learn how to do data blending and stuff to take your old data and your new data and mix it together. And again, if that's something that you need help with, you know what to do. Hit that reply button. However, in terms of content to catch up on, I strongly recommend the piece that I do annually for Trust Insights about anti-LGBTQ hate crimes. Right? It's something I do in advance of Pride Month every year. It is not the most cheerful of pieces, but it is essential for us to realize that celebrating stuff like Pride Month is important, but so is stopping violence and hate. And we can't manage what we don't measure. So go read that piece because it's an important piece. We also talked this week about AI and morals, over-reliance on AI, and so on and so forth. In terms of jobs, new positions open this week. Data engineer at Zealous Analytics, machine learning engineer, associate of operations at Zealous Analytics, and then a bunch of stuff at EverCommerce, associate director of paid social. We have paid media specialist, product marketing manager, PPC analyst. We also have SEO coordinator at Tufsud. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Lead analytics sales engineer at Piano Analytics, director of growth engagement at EverCommerce, content marketing lead at Aquint. So lots and lots of positions that are popping up. Make sure that you go check them out. New ad this week. If you are interested, the talk that I did in Chicago, the 30-minute talk, I have longer versions and custom versions of that. So if you want to bring that, I call it the Intelligence Revolution talk. If you want to bring that to your company, there's a little way to book a session in there. In other news this week, Facebook is testing how to block news on its platform in Canada. Yeah, okay. That's not dystopian at all. Other things in the news, SEO technical tips for multilingual websites, AI pushing SEO further, deep learning in the R programming language, rethinking human in the loop AI, 43 retail statistics for small business owners to use, and then the random stuff. I was reading about the Empress of Ireland, which sank in Canada 2 years after the Titanic did, in a really tragic accident. I was surprised. I've never heard of that before. A very cool text-prompted generative audio model called Suno, and an interesting piece by Chuck Wendig on the state of being a published writer in 2023. It's an eye-opening piece. So go check that piece out. It's really interesting. Upcoming events in just a few weeks. MACON in July in Cleveland, the Marketing AI Conference. I'll be doing my Intelligence Revolution talk there. ISBM in Chicago in September, followed by Content Marketing World and Marketing Analytics and Data Science, and then Marketing Profs B2B Forum. Lots of AI stuff happening, of course. That's the topic du jour. But that's the news for this week. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. I appreciate the time that you spend with me, and I will talk to you soon. Take care. If you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button.